be starting a few minutes late. We're having some technical issues, and we want to be able to see presentations, so we'll be starting in a few minutes.
let's just record and see what happens. We're recording.
We're recording? Okay.
Oh, and we can turn off the
Oh, yes.
speaker.
The noise makers.
Anyone's everybody.
Okay. All right, we will call this regular city council meeting for June 24th, 2025 to order at 6:06. Sorry, we're having some technical issues, which are still kind of going on, but we're recording now. Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Mayor Carrington,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Tudor,
Here.
Councilmember Cooper,
Here.
Councilmember Irby,
Here.
Councilmember Graver, here, Councilmember Hudson.
All right, and Councilmember Hudson contacted the city to let us know she had a family emergency and was going to be basically out of pocket for the entire week. So, with the council's permission, we'll give her an excused absence for that.
Sounds good. Madam Clerk, I'm here too.
Oh, no. I'm glad you're here, Councilmember Alcantara.
Mr. Alcantara's in the room, okay. All right, with that, if everyone could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll ask Nick Sparopoulos if he could lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we have approval of the agenda, which includes the introduction of an ordinance that we will be taking up on July 8th, having to do with national opioid settlement, which we have a presentation on that a little bit later in the meeting. So what's the wishes of the council for the agenda? Move to approve.
Second?
All right, moved and seconded. Is there any objection to the agenda as presented from the council? Okay, we'll declare that unanimous. And next we have communications and appearances. We've got Gary Wolf in the house. Yes, please come forward. I don't know if we've got the microphone on yet. Might have to, the on button's at the very end of the mic, the back end of the mic. And
We have no visual.
that was our technical difficulty we were trying to fix, was getting the screen.
I was saying,
Well,
our options are we could break and I could print, or we are where we are.
you want us to print out some printouts? We can take a break. Yes, Councilmember Graver? You look like you're trying to think about suggesting something.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't know anything about technology practically, but is there some way we could use one of our iPads or something? Does it have to be, because it sounds like that's what the issue's with, or?
Well, I think he was hoping to display it up on the
It
screen.
would, because it would help me with my presentation.
Okay.
I need to be able to see,
What's your-
so I can, follow through. You've asked for a pretty
Yeah.
complicated explanation.
I don't know.
Okay. I can fill it with it, so
Or can you have someone maybe print some copies and we'll maybe have Nick present first?
That's an idea.
That would be
Okay.
a good idea.
Okay. If that'll work, if the council's amenable to that, we'll swap presentations and start with Nick Sparopoulos. I don't know if I'm saying it right. I've been trying to practice here. And then if you could get someone to print those out.
Okay.
Okay.
Laura's gonna go print something.
We'll have to pull it close. It's, if it's on.
Kind of loud, okay.
Not for that mic.
Hello, everybody. My name is Nick Spropolis. I'm the borough attorney right down the street here in Madison Borough, actually, it's right across the field over there. I'm here tonight to talk about opioid settlement agreements and the transfer, limited transfer powers from Palmer to the Madison Borough. Some of this stuff is kind of nerdy, but I'm a local government nerd. George Hayes was going to be with me tonight. He's the deputy borough manager. He's actually handling the administrative side of the opioid settlements. Actually, the money going into the community. He's setting up the grant review committee, looking at how to score grants and get there in the end. My task in this whole thing is to coordinate and make sure that what the borough is doing is legal. As many of you know, the Madison borough is a second-class borough. We're very limited in what powers we have. For example, we do not have a police department, nor can we have one unless we obtain the power. Palmer, Wasilla, Houston, within the limits, you all have much more powers than we do. Because your cities within boroughs, of course, Palmer's home rule, Wasilla's first class, Houston's second class. So what started to happen here was there's a national opioid settlement. It's upwards of $25 billion. And when all these companies started to settle, what they did was, the plaintiff's attorneys, these were giant class action lawsuits. They just turned around and did a mathematical allocation across the nation based on population and usage and these really complicated formulas. For Alaska, how that broke out was the state of Alaska was entitled to get some money, and then some municipalities, but not every municipality in Alaska, was also granted settlement proceeds through this giant class action lawsuit. And one of the things that was in the class action lawsuit, there are several of them, I say lawsuit, it's really lawsuits, is an exhibit to what you can spend the money on. And it's Exhibit E to most of them. And all of the exhibits are the same, all the settlements are pretty much the same, it's just different lawyers suing different either distributors or manufacturers, and then there's this massive multi-party coordination. In the settlements, it restricts what the money can be spent on. And many of these things are beyond the borough's power to spend money on. Whether it comes from the settlement, whether it comes from taxpayers, no matter the source of the money. If Bill Gates showed up and said, I want to fund a police department for you, we would have to say thank you, but no thank you. We cannot spend money on police. We do not have that power. Once the money comes into our hands, we have to spend it legally. So some of the things that are allowed by this exhibit are expanding treatment, expanding telehealth, support mobile intervention and treatment and recovery services, support trauma recovery, wraparound services for individual, continuum of care, residential treatment, housing support, transportation support, community support, pretrial services, neonatal abstinence syndrome, infant-related care for infants who may have been born subject to opioid addiction, family support, child services, prescription drug monitoring, public health entities providing naloxone treatment, distribution of opioid treatment drugs. But all those things I just mentioned are not things the borough can do because we don't have the power to do it. And so the ordinance that is presented for introduction tonight for hearing in 2 weeks would be a limited transfer of power from the city to the borough to allow the borough to spend whatever money it gets from the opioid settlement on the allowed uses in Exhibit E. Your ordinance reserves to you the power to spend any money. You didn't get any, but there's still cases out there, they're still settling, maybe you will, maybe you won't. I don't think it's likely, but it reserves to you all of your powers to do the same should you get any money. So you're not giving up any power, so the transfer is really sharing. You're not giving up any powers. The other thing this ordinance does, as drafted, is you can withdraw it at any time for any reason or no reason. It specifically says that the city may revoke the transfer of grant power under this section at your sole and absolute discretion for any reason or no reason by the passage of an ordinance. So if Mr. Hayes was here when we were with the tag team, what he would tell you is we set up a grant program when we first got the opioid settlements a couple of years ago, and we were able to get about $60,000 or $70,000 out of the community. Right now, the borough is sitting on close to $800,000. Because the things we were able to spend on are things like education and training, because we have the power to do education and training. We can train, we can give assistance to our EMTs. We can give our, EMTs, more training and more education. We can help give nonprofits money for, again, training and education. But these larger services are beyond our power to do. And it's not our intent, it's not the borough's intent to get into the opioid treating business. It's our intent to set up a grant program with a review committee that would consist of someone from each of the 3 cities, someone from the borough, 2 people kind of who deal with treatment and providing services. That's a little touchy because if you're on the review committee, you can't apply for a grant. So we're going to have to find people who are willing to do that. And then the 7th seat would possibly be somebody from the state, or maybe a second person from the borough, but I think Mr. Hayes is trying to get somebody from the state to join in our mission here. And with that, the city of Houston transferred the powers, did the same type of limited transfer with ordinance 2501. The city of Wasilla has done the same thing in 2506, both of them earlier this year. And so Plano is the last piece. Upon passage of this ordinance, the Borough Assembly then will pass an ordinance accepting all the powers. And then we don't have to worry about, I don't know if anyone was here during COVID, for these economic development grants that we had to be really careful about not spending them in the cities and how did that work and the small business assistance we try to do. All of those barriers go away. We don't have to worry about, is the nonprofit located in the city? Is the person who's getting the treatment located in the city? We don't have to worry about, is there residential treatment, where is it located? This will allow everyone in the borough, all the treatment providers in the borough, to come get these grants. I mean, there were suggestions and ideas kicked around, over and over. My part is really just the legality, not really the implementation of how exactly and where exactly the money goes. Other than, I can tell you that the Borough Administration does not have any plans or designs to get into the treatment, like the borough would be providing treatment, or the borough would be providing direct services. These are going to be grants into the providers for the community. And again, right now we've got about 800,000. The settlement structure is such that we will be getting money. Some companies have elected the front fund, so they've given a little more up front. Some haven't, and we anticipate an income stream through 2033 or 2034, maybe as far as 2036, depending on, again, the exact allocation, the exact number of defendants, the exact number of settlements. There's a website, I think it's actually referenced in, one of the documents, the nationalopioidsettlement.com, I think is what it is. And you can go and you can look at all the agreements, and again, the exhibit to all of them is very pointed towards opioid remediation and really helping the community mitigate, recover, and stop the impacts of opioid use. And so that's our goal here, that's what we're trying to do, and that's what this ordinance does, is it allows the borough to fully execute that power, again, with your cooperation, with the teamwork and assistance. And, if from time to time, we want the manager or certainly the attorney to follow up with me, but, administration to talk with Mr. Hayes and find out how it's going. Again, it is our plan to invite somebody from the administration from the city of Palmer to be on this committee to help, score and rank the grant proposals and help divvy out the funds. That's it from me, unless anybody has questions.
Councilmember Altrincham. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Spiropoulos?
Yep.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Nice to see you here. I guess the first question I have is, I've been sitting on this for 8 months, since October of 2024. Sounds like the city of Wasilla and the city of Houston earlier this year passed things. It seems like we're late to the party, so to speak. But I guess my bigger question is the Mat-Su Borough collectively we the first rabbits to the hole, or have you researched this through City of Fairbanks with Fairbanks North Star Borough, City of Kodiak with Kodiak Island Borough, City of Kenai and Soldotna with the Kenai Peninsula Borough? Is this happening
across the state, the same way it's happening here in the Mat-Su?
In terms of transfer power to the boroughs, not that I know of. I don't know if Fairbanks got any money.
Okay.
I can certainly look and get back to you if you really want to know. I'll be back in 2 weeks for the public hearing. I don't know who else got money. I can tell you that at the city level, not many got it.
Okay.
Not a lot of municipalities in Alaska got it. I don't know, I don't pretend to know what the formula was. All I know is when you look at the Alaska allocation, it's like .000 and then a bunch of numbers. But when you're talking about 25 billion, what comes to the borough is significant.
Follow-up.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the formula itself is not as simplistic as like the Mat-Su Borough has 115,000 people and we get $6 or $7 per person in the borough. It's nothing of that nature, and it's not going to be of that nature necessarily when this $780,000 is expended. It's not going to be, okay, Palmer's at 6,000 people, so they get 1/20th of the settlement. Okay.
No, so it would be it's the borough's plan to simply set up a grant program and all the providers who are in the Mat-Su Borough who want to provide services, whether they're in the cities, out of the cities, whether the people availing themselves of the services are in the cities or out of the cities, that all won't matter. We're just gonna shovel grants out the door.
Thank you.
So, and the allocation isn't, from the settlements, wasn't merely population, because Houston didn't get any, Palmer didn't get any.
Correct.
Before that, little, but not a lot.
Last one, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Fletcher.
Thank you. The city of Houston, state of Wasilla, with some recollection, I'll admit, hadn't followed it. Do you know the dates that they passed their ordinances?
February 13th and March 10th.
Thank you.
And
And that's it?
part of a little transition in the administration. Sure. And this is not something we wanted to do without briefing and fully explaining and cooperating. I mean, this is a partnership. So this is not something we wanted to really do while you were in transition, so we wanted to make sure we waited through. Obviously, your legal team is solid. But, been talking with Sarah for months, but we need to make sure the administrative team was on board and knew what was going on, and was fully briefed and everything. So it's okay that we waited a little bit. Now, the borough's got to pass its ordinance, so it'll be a little bit more. Okay, thank you.
And part of this whole process was, after the beginning, the borough applied to receive it, the Wasilla applied, and so it's something Palmer didn't apply, so we don't have any rights to it at all. As far as the settlement,
We didn't apply.
oh, you didn't?
Whoever the lawyers were that did the settlement allocated however it came out. The state AG's office was involved and knows the ins and outs of all the settlement. We actually had a couple of meetings with the state AG's office in advance of the settlement, talking about the percentages and all the stuff that was going down. And then just reminding us how closely this was going to be watched by the drug companies who were getting all the money. Because their concern is that local governments and state governments would get a bunch of this money and then pay for things like parks and water lines and not opioid treatment.
Councilmember Cooper.
Thank you. A couple questions, Mayor. I might have missed this, sir, but why do you need all three cities to give transfer of powers? Don't you just need one to have health powers transferred to you, and then you can spend that monies the way you so desire or in accordance with the rules?
Well, so the problem with doing this is we would have an unknown as to whether or not it would be a legal act then to allow, let's say, a grantee within the city limits of Palmer to get the money. So if Palmer says no, it is possible that we say, well, we're going to issue the grant program, but we don't know if it's legal that anyone in Palmer can apply for it. We, right now, unless we have a specific area of power, can't exercise powers within the city limits. So fireworks control, animal control right now, I understand there's a discussion about that. But when you talk about these powers, and we as the borough don't have general health powers. So it's even worse than, well, we have a power that we can't do in the city. We don't even have it to begin with.
I understand that, but, if you're saying that, if we say, you can't give something to the city of Palmer, what about somebody who lives in a Butte? What about somebody who lives on Lazy Mountain? I mean, they're not in a city, and you have no health powers over them either. So then, am I to infer that because they're not inside the city and you don't have those health powers, you're not going to be able to help those folks out there?
Well, the state law is unclear on this subject. It would take the Alaska Supreme Court to find out, and I don't want to be the guy to find that out.
One more.
Yes, Councilman Cooper.
Going a little bit off topic. So you've had this money for a bit, and so you have no organization set up yet to disperse these funds, or have you worked on having an organization set up for this?
Oh, we already had a grant program, a grant committee, a scoring criteria, application sheets, the whole 9 yards. It's all going to have to get redone because it needs to be expanded significantly. And again, George Hayes isn't here tonight. I don't know where he is on the redoing of all of that. I do know we want all 3 cities to then participate in the review and recommendations on the scoring in terms of which grant goes to whom. Does it go to, I don't even know who the providers are.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Tudor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, Councilman Cooper asked a lot of the good questions that I was thinking of, and I just wanted to kind of just reiterate. So my understanding is in order for us to have the treatment for the opioid settlement in the city limits of Palmer, that's kind of what we're basically allowing by approving this. Is that correct? Whereas,
Or a recipient.
where we're not currently expecting to receive funds as a city, but should that happen in the future, that would flow through the city of Palmer into the borough as well?
No.
No?
You would keep your own.
Okay.
Part of this ordinance says the city retains power to expend funds in accordance with the allowed uses to the extent that the city receives settlement funds. So in legal speak, that means in the future, if you get some money, it's yours, not ours. We're still doing our own thing. And we could certainly have a discussion if you wanted to shovel it to our program, or you could do your own.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So it has the same thing in their ordinance.
So any other questions from the council? Madam Attorney, did you want to chime in at all?
No, I think you did an excellent, I mean, if there's specific questions, I'm available for that, but I asked Nick to emphasize the sharing of powers component and the fact that the city of Palmer doesn't lose any powers according to this. They can revoke it at any time. Not only that, but we don't have any liability either. We bumped that to them. Sorry, Nick. So it just gives us an opportunity to either the city apply, Exhibit E has a very broad definition of prevention and, oh gosh, I'm blanking out the word, in terms of beyond just treatment facilities. So, there has been other city organizations, police departments, fire departments that have applied for these around the nation. So that would be determined by the grant possibility. So that's something that's available. The other would be just whether or not, we have daybreak out here within city limits. Sefri's not here, my house isn't here, but just in terms of the flexibility for us, a nonprofit within the city limits or a recipient within the city limits to even be able to apply for this grant program, we'd have to approve that.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Tudor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I ask a question to the city attorney, I just wanted to kind of I've had a good deal of correspondence with different people in the city about this, and I think one of the concerns I just wanted to make sure that we addressed was that we were giving up a power, kind of like giving up a little bit of sovereignty, giving up a little bit of, what makes us a home rule city. I just want to make sure if we do this, that we're not going to give any powers up or any of our, again, sovereignty or anything like that. I just want to make sure that
That is correct. We're not even, even if, it's not like I'm pouring power into something. It'd be more like we are deputizing the Mat-Su Borough to utilize our health powers, and we can take it back whenever we want, but if they do anything with the funds that aren't appropriate, they get to have the liability of it. It wouldn't fall upon us. So there is no sovereignty issue. There is no loss of powers in any way. We are letting them hold our hand, utilize our powers in this process.
Mr. Mayor, follow-up?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Do you see any downside to this as far as, legality for the city?
No, and if the city is unhappy with, joining the grant committee and maybe don't feel like we have enough tension, I'm sure we have a relationship with the borough, we could establish that. And if not, it's a quick ordinance change. All you guys have to do, if the council's upset with this in the future, is say, we're revoking ordinance number 25003 and vote. That's it.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. And then on our next meeting on July 8th, we'll be having a public hearing, and then it'll be coming to the council. So, okay.
All right, well, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Back on July 8th, Mr. Hayes should be back in town then, and he'll be here as well. And I do want to extend an invitation for anybody, obviously probably through the city attorney, if you have questions, concerns, and want more details, if you let us know. Mr. Hayes and I are around, obviously he's out fishing this week, so someone will ask us, subject to being out fishing, we're around, talking in advance, if you have any, real questions you want to get into, or if you want to review any of these minutes, and I will get you an answer on which other municipalities are fair about it.
All right. Thank you, sir. And looks like we might take a little bit of a break until we get enough printouts. So we'll take a break now. Yeah, go for it.
Can you hear me? That's perfect. All right.
Right, because sometimes it means something. Especially when we're sharing.
Anyone else want one?
Thank you. I'll make sure everybody. Oh, that's funny.
Is it been off very long? It doesn't talk the server.
Okay. All right, well, we'll come back from our break. And sorry, Gary, we're going old school, man.
All right.
Sorry, get the mic on too.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Gary Wolf, take it away, sir.
All right, thank you. Good evening, Mayor Carrington, Manager Zirkle, members of the City Council, and community members. Manager Zirkle, thank you very much for inviting me here this evening to provide some context and clarity on the design and budgeting for the Palmer Library. There's been a lot of confusion with social media, and I want to be able to explain to you exactly the context of how the budget was developed. We're in a very complex time where true claims and untrue claims are elevated to equal levels on social media, and they're both presented as facts, and if you don't know the facts, it's really hard to tell the difference between the two. Conspiracy theories abound, and the conspiracy theory surrounding the Palmer Library budget and the design is based on a fundamental misunderstanding of modern design and budgeting processes for a publicly funded project. My purpose here tonight is to set the record straight and equip you with some tools that you can confidently explain to your constituents how the library was delivered using an open, accountable, and focused process, delivering a library that met the unique criteria established by the community of Palmer and agreed to by the council, and brought in to budget alignment with the budget that was approved by the council. We've been honored to be able to work on the library project. And we feel like we've done a great job with the design and the budget, and we've been very respectful of the taxpayer resources. So we've been at this for 2 years, and I've been here in front of you several times. We started with this, a blank piece of paper, and today we have a set of instructions and drawings to build a 20,000 square foot library in Palmer. A library that has never been built on planet Earth ever. This is a unique structure. It's going to be built by people in Alaska, and we have a set of documents to get that done within the specified budget. And I stand behind my budget, and I'm here to clarify exactly why I have that budget and why it's absolutely responsible, and why I put that together. So, we can, this is up and going. So, go ahead and go to the next slide, please. So, what we're going to do tonight is we're going to review the process that got us here, explain why a design estimate is not a budget, is a budget and not a bid, and I want to clarify how that budget was developed. Next slide. So this is a brief timeline of where we've been. And we all know the history of this. I think the point that I want to bring out here, and part of this is in response to some of the comments made on social media. We were competitively selected from 7 design firms in Alaska. We were selected because of our experience. We've worked in the Valley for over 40 years. We work all over the state. We know Palmer better than anyone else, and we know this community better than anyone else. We can design the library better than anyone else. We were contracted to provide community outreach, programming, concept design through construction drawings, which we are completed with. We're done with the easy part. We've got the hard part, the construction of the project next. And we have a great set of drawings for it. We've got a great design. We're excited about that design. And again, we're very happy to be working for you all. Go ahead, next presentation. So just a real quick kind of refresher on all of the community outreach we did. We started with the Friday Flame. We had, I think, 5 workshops when we met routinely with the building committee, and that just sort of outlines all of the public engagement we had. Next, please. With the public engagement, they provided us the basis of the information along with the building committee. We put together a building program which led to a functional analysis so that we could create a floor plan, which then went into a three-dimensional form. We had another presentation, we presented to the community, we got feedback, and we eventually ended up with the design we have today. It's an iterative process. The design changed a lot. We spent from, I think, August through January or February on coming up with the basic design for the building. Next, please. The design goals was that the building was to be contextual. It was supposed to fit in Palmer. It was going to be a welcoming town center. It was going to be inviting and accessible. It was to connect the east part of Palmer to the quad and the downtown with some usable outdoor space. The building was to be durable and flexible, future-ready. People talked about a 100-year building, and part of that was the old building was out of wood and it broke in an ice storm, and they didn't want to see that again. If we make an investment, we want an investment that's going to last. They wanted to minimize the maintenance so that the building lasted longer. That means you need more expensive materials. You don't want the cheapest material you can buy. We wanted to maintain the size of the book collection. We wanted a building that had natural light and views of the mountains and nature. The old library was dark and dingy, is what their input was. They wanted some private and comfortable community meeting spaces of various sizes, some cozy reading rooms. They wanted the design to be cost conscious, utilize the existing parking lot. There's a word along right that has a bunch of words that people use to describe the library, and then an image of some of the early boards of where they documented where their interests lie in terms of what the building ought to feature. Next slide, please. So who set the budget? Well, the budget was set after we developed the program. We hired as part of our team a National Library consultant, and they helped put us a program together. And that program was 24,000 square foot originally. And we told the City of Palmer that was going to be an $18 million project. That exceeded the budget they wanted to spend, and they said, no, we need the budget to be at $15 million. The City of Palmer set the budget at $15 million, and we were to adhere to that budget. And we've adhered to that budget throughout the course of the design, with the exception of when Mr. Jelly had us add some square footage to the second floor. Our directive from the City of Palmer was to design a $15 million budget. We didn't come up with it. The City of Palmer established the design parameters along with the community and gave us a budget, and that's what we designed to. And next slide, please. So what is a design estimate? A design estimate is a forecast of what something's going to cost, not a fixed bid. We live in a crazy time. We live in a time where we have an enormous amount of escalation in construction costs. It makes it very difficult to estimate how much something's going to cost in the future when you have things like tariffs, when you have, up until this year, you have sort of runaway inflation on everything, when you have, who knows what's going on in the world. You've got supply line challenges. You've got all of these issues. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to provide you a cost for a project that you can rely, that you can get a building built in the future. I'm not trying to tell you exactly what that thing is going to cost. We come up with a number based off of buildings that have been built that are similar. And if you don't have any buildings that are built that are similar in a reasonable time frame, you have no data points. You have to just kind of guess at to where that thing's coming in at. Our estimates are, we hire professional estimators who estimate buildings. We hired a professional estimator and worked with him until February. He helped us make sure the design we were coming up with aligned with the $15 million budget. And that's how we select materials, how big the spaces are going to be. And it's a budget to help you make sure you have money. The City of Palmer has money to build a building. has some contingency in it. It's a guide. It's based, again, on historical data, both projects, labors, material, shipping, all of the things that would be in a building put together. It reflects the design goals that were established for the building. Every building has a different set of parameters. You can't look at a school and say, oh, that school, it's going to cost as much as a library. They're two totally different buildings. You would never say, oh, a van is going to cost as much as a car, or a dump truck's going to cost as much as a road grader. You would never say that. But people, obviously on social media think that the new bathroom facility at the Alaska State Fair is going to cost as much as the new building and library in downtown Palmer. It's absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, so, the design goals, the site constraints, we're building a building in the middle of downtown Palmer. The entire site is constrained. It will be completely fenced. You're going to have to deal with Friday fling and all the other things that go around with Palmer. That's going to add to the cost. It's also a publicly bid project, which means it's got public funding, which means that's going to add to the cost. That adds, it used to add somewhere between 15 and 20%. However, all the labor rates went up, so that amount of money that it increases the cost has gone down. It also includes contingencies for things that we can't know are going to happen. Will the steel tariffs kick in, and will all the steel all of a sudden become 30% more expensive? We don't know. We have to have some contingencies in there. And the other thing is this estimate evolves with the design, and our estimator told us all along that he felt good about the project. However, I'm responsible to make sure you have enough money to build this building. I was worried about it, and I'll tell you why. So let's go to the next slide. So I'm going to make you work tonight since you made me put together this presentation. You have to work too. So let's assume you all are a manager of a construction company that does flat work. And your boss's truck had a tree fall on it, and he had to rent a truck, but he needs that truck to do work. You've been with this company a long time, you know exactly how they operate, and your boss tells you, I want you to go out and pick me up a truck that's going to work for me, and you know exactly what I need. I need to be able to tow 24,000 pounds. I've got this crew of 5. I need to be able to drive them around the state, and you know exactly the parameters he wants. And you look around at the Fords and the Chevys and the Dodges, and you come across the GMC HD 2500 Duramax diesel AT4 because you have to go off-road sometimes to get to rural sites. That has everything that you want in a truck. And you go to the dealer, and the dealer says, oh man, we don't have any more of those trucks. They're so popular, they're so great, the engines are so perfect. We don't have any, but the next year's model's coming out, and the factory tells us it's $86,000. And you go back to tell your boss about the $86,000, and you run into your friend who's the best mechanic in Alaska. He works on trucks. He knows everything about trucks. And he says, you tell him about this Duramax, and he says, oh, dude, that dealer is ripping you off. My friend, 3 years ago, he bought a truck for $68,000, and you are getting totally, that dealer's ripping you off. So what's the responsible thing? You're the general manager. You know exactly the truck that your boss is going to want, that the dealer says that it's going to cost $68,000 possibly next year. Are you going to go tell your boss, the dealer's trying to rip us off. He says it's $86,000, but my best mechanic in Alaska says it's only going to be $68,000. It's the responsible thing to do to go to your boss and say, you only need $8,000 in your bank because my buddy tells me that and I know for a fact it was a $68,000 truck. Or do you say, you better have $68,000 in case it's a little bit more, at least you're set up for it. That's a little bit like the predicament that I'm in. If this project does not come in within $15 million, guess who's going to point the fingers at me and say, oh, that architect didn't know what he was doing? Yeah, we know who that's going to be. It's going to be you pointing at me, and that would be absolutely right. I am responsible to make sure this library is designed within a $15 million budget, and I'm not going to try to guesstimate everything low because I want it to come in low. I'm going to guesstimate it's going to come in high because I know that there are going to be things that we don't know on this project that are going to happen. I've got the contingencies built in there. Next slide, please. So there are 4 different types of estimates that we've been talking about. There's a design estimate, which is a forecast into the future of the probable cost by the architect and the estimator of what the building likely will cost based off of the criteria set forth and the budget you have established. There's the construction bid. The construction bid is when the estimator from a general contractor puts a bid on a set of drawings and specifications like I have in front of me, and on bid day, they turn that in. Now, this is nothing more but a more sophisticated guess than my guess. He doesn't know, and for sure, 100%, there's going to be something in the drawings that they're going to find, and they're going to get a change order, and it might be something they have to give money back, or you're going to have a change order. It's just going to happen. It happens on every job. And at the end of the project, a month after the contractor walks off the site, and maybe they have it dialed in closer, and all of the accounting is done, you're going to know what the construction cost of the building is. And that's the number that's being thrown around for the Mat-Su Central project. That is the construction cost. That is the all-in cost of construction for the Mat-Su Central School. It was $480 a square foot. The project cost, and we've provided some estimates to you on the project cost because we didn't want anybody to be shocked when at the end of the project it costs more than what the construction cost is. You have all kinds of costs associated with the project: demolition, fixtures, furnishings, and equipment. You have soft costs like architectural fees, legal fees, permitting, special inspections, all kinds of things that are also associated with the project cost. So in the social media, these costs are being thrown around as though they're all the same thing, and they're quite different. Next slide, please. So here's some historical comparisons. These are some things that we looked at when we were putting together our cost. So the first thing we looked at was, in the Mat-Su, how much have libraries costed? And the Sutton Library in 2010 cost $384 a square foot. If you escalate that out, that's at $690 a square foot today. The Wasilla Library in 2016 cost $625 a square foot. If you escalate it, it's $862 a square foot today. The Willow Library in 2021 was constructed at $814 a square foot. That's $925 a square foot today. Now, I looked at those and said, $700 doesn't seem like such a high number. And so that was one data point that I used. The Mat-Su Central School was thrown out as $480. How come the library is $700? This one came out at $480. Well, it's true, but the point that I want to make here, it's a completely different program and quality level. The Mat-Su Central, they wanted quality over quantity. It's not a bad school, but it's not built to the same quality as a normal Mat-Su School District school. They relaxed the standard. The Front Terrace Charter School was the charter school that was built before Mat-Su Central. It came in at $150 a square foot. And I included this in here because I can guarantee you in 2022, when Mat-Su Central bid, everybody was holding their breath. That school was $300 more a square foot more than the Front Terrace School. Part of that was due to the COVID inflation. Part of that was due that Front Terrace was absolutely the cheapest school you could build. It's a wood frame school, whereas the Mat-Su Central School is a steel frame school. Two totally different qualities. Then the next thing that I looked at was the Gateway Visitor Center in 2024, last year, in I think it was October. The Gateway Visitor Center bid at $712 a square foot, and that was a 10,000 square foot building. So it's half the size of our building. It's made of wood frame. It's very simple. However, the $712 a square foot gave me pause, and I said, you know, I am not ready to bring down that estimate because I cannot tell, given the few projects that have bid in the Mat-Su, that $700 is not a good number to guess around. So again, it's a guess. Today at noon, one of our other schools that we had going on bid, the American Charter Academy. This again, this is a 30,000 square foot new charter school being built on the outside of Wasilla. It is the most basic of schools. There is not bell or whistle one in that school. It does have a sprinkler system like all schools have to have, you know, it's got nothing else. It is the barest of bones school. It's $490 a square foot, just a little bit more than the Mat-Su Central Job project was. So that is excellent news. That gives me great hope that the $700 estimate is high, that I was worried about. But I'll tell you, designing and assuming that you are over budget, make sure that your project stays in budget, because I made sure that there were no, to the greatest extent possible, we didn't put a lot of extra things into the library so that it came in as budget friendly as we can, and the reality is that's true. It's the most of the finishes on the inside are sheetrock. You know, we've got carpet and sheetrock. We got a little bit of tile at the entry because it wears good. We have some tile in the bathroom, so you don't have to paint your bathrooms all the time. But all of that stuff can be taken out. And let's go to the next slide. So just to kind of give you a little bit more context with estimates. So this is the bids, quote-unquote architects / engineers estimate for the Mat-Su Central School that bid in 2022, 23, whatever it was. Notice that the base bid is shown to be $24,867,112. If you look over, FE Contracting was the low bid on that, $21,850,000. And I'll tell you a little bit about the Mat-Su Borough. For an architecture firm, if you are not under the budget, on bid day you redraw the project for free. And everyone was worried. You notice all these alternates that are down the side, all of those come off of the cost or add, in this case, they add to the base bid price. So the base bid is the base school, and then all of those alternates are things they can add if they've got extra money. And so that's how you can control costs. And on the library, we have 9 alternates. They're all deducted, which means that the base bid will include everything in the design. And then there are 9 alternates that we will strip anything that is slightly nice. We're getting rid of the roof deck. We'll change the metal roof to an asphalt shingle roof, which is a bad idea, but we'll do it. We'll get rid of any nice finishes we have inside. We'll get rid of the operable partition that's in the large meeting room, so that it makes, you know, if you do hold meetings in there, all of your casework has to stay out in the open all the time. But we've set it up so that if it comes in high, we can take anything nice out of it. Next slide, please. So this is the Gateway Visitor Center. Again, take a look at the design estimate. It says $8.6 million. The low bid is $6.3 million. Again, that's because the estimators always estimate high, and then, you know, you have to kind of guess what, you know, your design is. And you know, I will tell you, the design, I tried to include everything I possibly could in there because the cost will never be this cheap again. So I want it to be, you know, I want it to be under $15 million. At the same time, I want you to get the best quality and as much space as you can for the $15. We only get one shot at this. Let's go to the next slide, please. So this is the estimate that, again, for the library, I've got it as shown at the 20% concept design, I'm showing $15 million. At the 50% design develop, I'm at $16 million. We're still trying to get it down, we're cutting space off. And this is actually, that's when we had the space added upstairs, so that included that. The 65% design development is back at $15 million, and at the 80%, we're very close to $8 million, and I've got about 1.7 in deductive alternates to pull it down if we were over. Okay, next slide. So 716, in case I haven't gone on long enough. The building is a moderately sized building, 20,000 square feet in a confined urban site. It's publicly bid, which is going to increase the cost, and the confined urban site, there's not as much space to store materials for the contractor. It's harder to get in and out. He's got to deal with all the things going on in Palmer. It's just going to add to the cost. It's a library. It's more expensive than a school, and it's more expensive than the new bathrooms at the Alaska State Fair. You wanted a 100-year building. We've provided you some moderately better than normal quality, durable materials that aren't going to require the city of Palmer to maintain them. We all know in our houses, the minute you occupy it, things start to fall apart. They fall apart faster in a public building. The higher quality materials that we can use in it, the longer it will last. We've thought about the contingencies, the inflation, the supply chain, the labor, the volatility, all of that. It worries me. It keeps me up at night. We've got a fire suppression system. We've got a it's a steel structure. This thing is not going to fall down, and it's not going to collapse because there's books in it. It's been designed for all of that. We've got extensive and specialized casework that's very expensive. It's flexible, it's future ready. We've spent extra money on insulation and high quality windows so that it doesn't cost as much to operate it. We fine-tuned the acoustics, it'll be quiet. We've worked on the daylighting to make sure that it's no bright spots in there. It's climate controlled. There's outdoor occupiable space, which costs something, costs more. We've got an amphitheater, so we've got usable space outside. We've got a large community gathering room. Next slide, please. And I talked about the deductive alternates, the exterior deck, roofing materials, canopies, landscaping, exterior parking lights, interior finishes. Anything that I thought that we might be able to exclude, I've got it on an alternate, and when the bids come in, we can either accept them or reject the alternates, depending on my hope is it's coming in. I feel good like we're going to get the whole thing, but again, I was worried about it. Next. All right, so to wrap up here, key takeaways. We have a $15 million budget. It was set and agreed upon by council. The design reflects Palmer's vision and lasting welcome town center. This is a building that in 100 years, when your grandchildren are seeing your names on the front door, they can say, those guys really cared about Palmer. Look at this great building they gave us. We got it at a $716 estimate. We did that because we thought it was the responsible forecast for an uncertain time. It's not the final cost. People who are saying it's the final cost and this is overly designed building are absolutely uninformed about how these processes work. This is a responsible number. And then remember, general dollar per square foot comparisons are not reliable without the context. And, don't rely on social media for your information. It's always wrong, always. And I want to follow up. My office is a half a block from here. Some of you have been up in my office. We don't bite. If you have questions, come up and ask us. We don't mind. In fact, nobody who on social media, they'd rather spew out misinformation than come up and go, hey, Mr. Wolf, this seems wrong to us? How come it's this much? I could have explained this to them easily. And, I think I could have given this presentation at our last meeting. And I know that I think there was disappointment that I didn't, but I didn't realize, I knew that there was concern about the budget. I've gone through enough of these over 40 years that, I feel, I'm concerned about it, but I feel like we're in good shape. But I should have done this sooner, and I apologize for not doing that. But, you selected me because we're straight shooters. And I have, I've invested heavily in the city of Palmer. This library means as much to me or more than anyone else in Palmer. We've worked hard on it. We've spent hours and hours worrying about it, making sure it was right. We're the best team to select for this project. And so with that, if you have any questions, I'm willing to answer them.
Any questions from the council? Councilmember Cooper.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick comment. You mentioned that you keep bringing up 15 million. It seems to me that the council approved at least 16.5 million. Then we had a vote on that.
Well, maybe Brad Hansen was very clear, he was the head of the building committee, he was very clear that the library was not to exceed 15 million.
I'm pretty sure that it's at least 16.5 that we've approved. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Tudor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for speaking to us today. I appreciate the phone call that we had yesterday. It was yesterday, if memory serves. And you were very thorough with this, because I met with some people, and that was some of the concerns that I was hearing, was they were, just asking, hey, is this within the right budget? And I think part of this isn't helped by us as a city, because, as Councilman Cooper was saying here, I feel like every time that we mention a number for the library, it's different. And I know it's causing some confusion with that as well, because I've heard some people say, like 18 million and, 16.5 and 15.
And part of that was because the estimates that some of the estimates that you saw were sort of all-in project, and it wasn't clear. And so I think that you guys don't build big commercial buildings very often. 40 years ago was the last time you did a big commercial building. So, hindsight being 20/20, I should have done this early on. But that was so that you would recognize, or people would recognize, that $15 million, that's the building. That is not a building that has furniture in it. And at the end, when all the accounting is done, there's all these other costs associated with that.
Thank you for that. And as you know, I was I know that the cost has been always on my mind. I was one of the council members, with Councilwoman Aline, that was going for a $10 million design, just because we were worried about, we got to pay this back. But we got the library design that we have now. And what I was wondering is there anything that you could see from, us as a council that could either help reduce the costs or help this project going forward?
At this point, no.
Okay.
We are so far down the road. The only thing to really reduce cost is to cut something out of it. And at this point, with 2 years of effort into this, everything is tied together. It would take a long time to go back. And then you'd have to go through a whole design process to figure out what you're cutting out. You can't just shrink it a little bit.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And again, I just wanted to reiterate, and that was one of the questions. I'm glad you included this with the visitor center that's being built along the highway. So that's coming in about the same cost per square foot, it looks like, as you're estimating. Is that correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you so much for speaking with us today. I really appreciate it, Gary.
Councilmember Arcantara.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Gary, for being here tonight and doing this presentation for us. you took a little wind out of my sails when you mentioned that you guys are a 3-minute walk away from here, and that's one of the reasons why we're so happy that you guys were chosen amongst the 7 to do this project. And I think some of the frustration from the city council perspective isn't at Wolf Architecture at all. It's at the lack of progress over, I mean, if you look at your own project history, 2023 seemed very ripe with getting things done, and then 2024, because of a lot of reasons that don't have anything to do with you, took a lot of wind out of our sails with, changes in administration, just a bunch of different things that were happening. But I'm glad that you put in your slideshow, and my recommendation to you, because I can feel a little angst, obviously, that, the echo chamber of social media is something you can look at, take a little temperature on, but it doesn't by any means represent what people coming here to talk to city council and the mayor represent. Just like the old days where they used to say one letter to the editor represents 100 people. That's the thing, is when people actually take the time, show up here, show up at the public meetings that you talked about, and say what they want to see as a library or not want to see as a library, that's the stuff that people need to take into consideration and take into play. And I would just caution you not to let your blood get boiling on what happens in social media. Because I've never heard anybody from this dais talk anything but positive about your company. As you mentioned, 40 years here. You love Palmer, we all love Palmer, and so you're doing a great job. My recollection is the same as Councilman Cooper, that we had kind of 3 scenarios, a 15 million, a 16.5, and somewhere in that 17.5 to 18 million, and I don't recall, we'd have to do research, if that was a formal vote necessarily, but the 16.5 million was something I was comfortable with, and I think we certainly discussed as a council. And if we voted on that for 16.5, that just gives us a little buffer zone on where we're going in the future. So I would say that we need to proceed. I mean, it's been 28 months, and every time I think about, it looks like we're going somewhere tonight, and your presentation helps that. And it'll help yourself, but it'll help us be able to provide some answers to the public as well. So thank you for being here tonight, and stay off Facebook and Instagram, and you should be all right.
Somebody had to share that with me, but, then I started reading it. Really? Now, I printed out something for you to take, and if people have questions, you can answer it with this outline here. And so, if people don't understand, then you can use that. And if you have any questions, feel free to stop by my office. Okay?
Yeah. Well, the bottom line is all those numbers that keep running around are still related to design estimates, and we haven't even got to a bid process.
When we have a bid, then we'll know.
Yeah.
We'll know.
Okay.
Most
Thank you.
of it. All right. Thank you.
Well, we know a lot more anyway. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you very much,
Okay,
Gary.
Card, the bid came in good today. That means that I'm being, over.
Optimistic, yeah.
Yeah, so, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Gary. All right. Next, we have reports. City Manager's report.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Wolf, for that presentation. I think it was very much needed. Thank you. I am pleased to announce that Nate has officially been hired as the City of Palmer's Community Development Director, effective June 20th, 2025. He's there in the back. Nate has served in the acting capacity for several months and has consistently demonstrated strong leadership, professionalism, and a clear commitment to the department. And I'm very confident in his continued success in this important role. Police chief interviews are scheduled to take place in the next few days. We've assembled a qualified interview panel, and I'll look forward to reaching out to those candidates that have been selected to move forward. Recruitment for the fire chief position and human resources is also continuing, and we have a strong caliber of candidates and anticipate a competitive selection process. A major milestone was reached this week in regards to the library settlement. All parties have signed the agreement, and the city will receive in total $4.7 million as a part of that resolution. Additionally, we will be bringing forward an amendment for the budget at the July 8th City Council meeting to address the appropriation of these recently finalized library settlement funds. That's a huge win for us. You'll also notice some increased activity surrounding the old library. The demolition for the ITB was awarded and work will begin shortly. However, in the meantime, our interim chief Prevost had a great idea of conducting training exercises in the facility throughout the week. Unfortunately, there won't be any explosions, but you will be seeing some smoke and maybe some lights and activity around there as they use this valuable space before the actual demolition starts. And then also be on the lookout for the RFP for the reconstruction of this library in the coming weeks. Another great success, the city's official YouTube channel is now fully operational, offering expanded access for city content. We have a direct link available on our website underneath the government tab, and within that meeting information, you can click on watch a council meeting. We also have added a link to archive council meetings, allowing you guys to access that a little bit more easily directly from our webpage. Last week, I had the opportunity to participate in a regional meeting with fellow mayors and managers across the Mat-Su Valley. We discussed several key topics, including responsible municipal finance, long-term planning, and strategies to strengthen our collaboration between the local governments. And these conversations were very productive and underscored the importance of regional partnerships in addressing the shared challenges and advancing our mutual goals. And let's not forget, Celebrate Palmer is quickly approaching. On July 25th, we'll be announcing various community awards and prizes, and the planning committee is exploring fun and creative new ways to engage with city officials, including the possibility of throwing pies at us. So be sure to follow the City of Palmer's Facebook page for updates as these details unfold. And I do not promise that will be on there, but we are looking at different ways. And that's it.
So you're saying I can use my face as a fundraiser for the library?
You sure could. We could get cut out and someone could throw a pie at your face.
Is there any questions for the manager? Okay. Next is the manager report. I had a written report, and also I went by last night, and I didn't count how many fire trucks were at the fire truck convention, but there was a lot. I want to say almost a couple dozen. So there was a lot of activity, and it was good to see. Butte was there, Gerda Palmer, ripping into the roof, and a few other things. But is there any questions for me on my report? Okay, city clerk's report.
I don't have too much to report, just a reminder that AML is August 13th and 14th. And then also candidate filing begins for our open offices. We have the mayor, 2 council members for 3 years, and a council member for a year, coming open in the October election. And the candidate filing period begins on July 21st and closes August 1st.
And did I hear a rumor that you were getting a quote for revamping our media system here?
Yes, we did have Sound Decisions come in and look at everything, because as you see, we have technical difficulties occasionally. And so they're supposed to be providing a quote for us about upgrading our system,
All right.
including the microphones.
Okay. Is there any questions for the clerk on her report? Okay, city attorney's report. Madam Attorney?
Yes, good evening. I wanted to thank Nick. I know he had to pop out for his presentation, and let the council know that I'm available for any other questions that might pop up as you're debating the between now and the next hearing. In addition to that, I wanted to let you know I've submitted the 4 options of draft legislation that was requested for residency requirements, the 8-10 water sewer district and no option. We're removing the residency requirements. That's going to be on your July 8th agenda. Thank you, Benji, for working with me on that. And that's it for questions. Oh, we are playing with the maps associated with that to try to get links, so there will be accompanying maps. In what way will it look like, I'm not quite sure yet, but we're doing our best to make sure that you can see what that looks like.
All right. So any questions for the attorney from the council? Okay. So next we have audience participation. If you haven't already, you can sign in. And with council meeting rules, protect your right to testify and be heard even if others in the room disagree with you. Council meeting rules also ensure that those attending can express their views if they do not interfere with the rights of others to see and hear the proceedings. At all times, order and decorum will be maintained in keeping with the civility and dignity of the legislative process. Please be respectful during the audience participation. No disruptions to city business or threats of any kind will be allowed. Individuals who cannot follow these guidelines will be removed. Any threats against others could result in criminal prosecution. So please sign in and state your name, and 3 minutes per person. We'll open audience participation.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
Good evening, City Council and Mayor. My name is Jackie Goforth. I'm handing you out another copy of my sworn statement, and I swear on the hand on the Bible that my sworn statement is true, so help me God. You're getting a new copy because the last one didn't have the seal from the notary, and that is my fault because I didn't notice that she hadn't done it. So you have now one that has the seal of the notary on it. And I want you to know that everything in there you can believe or not because it's called hearsay. Anything that I tell you that I'm listing is hearsay. Anything that anybody else tells you is hearsay, unless it's online and you can actually verify it. There's a rule against personal attacks, slander, or outburst aimed at individuals and private citizens from the dais. The mayor or presiding officer is authorized and expected to enforce order, call out violations, and even more, to excise a speaker if they breach decorum. And slandering, defaming, and libeling a fellow council member and myself, a public citizen, is against the rules. Now, if you listen carefully to the recording of Councilmember Irby's 21-minute dissertation last meeting, you will notice something. It begins at 2:47 on the recording. You'll notice something very noticeable. It's called pattern recognition. He uses the word camp 16 times in 21 minutes. And 11 instances occurred during the time frame when he was speaking about and quoting from the disputed hearsay-riddled memo that was authored by someone that I will not speak about unless my hand is forced. 4 of Irby's iterations of the word camp really stand out. These are his exact quotes from when he was talking about the library meeting. At 3:01 he says, "Like the audience, I wanted the informational items discussed. I voted no, as did Councilmember Cooper, Mayor Carrington, and then Hudson and her camp attempted to gut the meeting." Oh, that sounds like normal splicing, doesn't it? At 3:02 he says, 40 years of experience on this council doing what was best for Palmer, not acting on a personal agenda or any collective or camp. Another mention that sounds very normal. How about 3:04? I'm not saying there's been any illegal communication among this camp. And at 3:05, there's nothing wrong with such a request. It just has the appearance of being shady since this camp had concerns about rushing into things. You know, I have checked social media for Councilmember Hudson, and she has mentioned camp 6 to 8 times, and every single time it's with regards to campfire and campsites. But if I go back through all the meetings, I wonder where I'm going to find the word camp used, and which members it's used by, as though it's normal. So if you want to listen and believe on whoever you want to listen and believe to, that's your choice. But I will not be in any room or speaking to any person without a witness and a court order. Thank you.
Anyone else for audience participation?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. I'm Ken McCarty from Chugiak, and I'm coming to you to inform you that there's an effort for Eagle River Chugiak to try to become annexed into Mat-Su. And in that process, that there's a couple of different hurdles that we have to do. One of them is to have law enforcement. And so we'll come to you a little later on. I've met with the city manager and one of the law enforcement officers here, and just kind of the beginning talks of that. But offer that exists, or what we have, is about $8 to $9 million for, like, Palmer to be able to do law enforcement for Chugaki River, Peters Creek, and such. So things are moving in that direction. We've already submitted stuff to the Boundary Commission of the state, waiting for a response back from them the next 2 weeks, and we're going to continue on with this process. So thank you for your time. Sorry. Thank you.
My name is Linda Spohn. I never got involved in government or politics, but I always voted conservative, and I truly believe in taking a stand on important issues. The children, young adults, and adults of this community deserve better. To sexualize and groom children in taxpayer-funded libraries and schools with evil, vile, perverted, obscene material and woke ideology and DEI, LGBTQ, transgendering minors, and pornographic obscene material is wrong. We all know it's wrong, but you still fund it with taxpayer money. A proposition could be put on the ballot this fall for the people of this community to decide on this issue. Now, I also believe in giving credit where credit is due. I thank Council members Hudson, Glaber, Tudor, and Alcantara for acknowledging a problem, being decisive, and taking immediate action. The former city clerk needed to be terminated, and these council members were rightfully justified in doing so. The 4 people who didn't show up for the special meeting, Mayor Carrington, council members Cooper and Irby, along with Cabbage Radio, who has a contract to record the meetings, were not justified in their actions or absences. That meeting is where their input could have been heard. At the last meeting on 6/10/25, Mr. Irby's final comments were inappropriate. Mr. Irby needs to realize the other council members who he unjustly criticized were elected by the people to represent them. Mr. Irby isn't even an elected member. He was appointed by Mayor Carrington, who appears to encourage division in this community. In addition, the city council meeting held on 5/27/25 was very informative. I learned more how the city government functions. The city manager, city clerk, and city attorney work for the city council, and the department heads work for the city manager, who works for the council. But what you left out was that you are all working for the taxpayers. In conclusion, the obscene material placed in the libraries was placed there by librarians with no public input, no prior approval by anyone, and it's against the law. This is very questionable, at the very least, and should be on the ballot for the people, the taxpayers, to decide. May God bless and protect Palmer through Christ Jesus, my Lord and Savior. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I've been impressed with Jackie Goforth's willingness to do considerable research.
Your name, sir?
My name is Mike Malewski. I validated that today. I made sure it still is, it hasn't changed. But one of the things that I did do was go back and look at the contract that we have with the city, we being Big Cabbage Radio. And Big Cabbage Radio is contracted to do 2 regular meetings with the city, with a proviso that if requested, and the way that's been requested is either the clerk or the mayor, sometimes the city manager would request that we do a special meeting, and we've responded, and obviously we've been here for budget meetings and many of the special meetings through the time of troubles, and we did that, but we received no request for the meeting that was spoken about just a moment ago. And again, I point you to that contract. It's there. We feel that we have fulfilled our obligations and even gone beyond that in what we've done. So I just want to clarify in case someone has not read that contract. That's true. The second point I'd like to make is that Gary Wolf has done a wonderful job, but in the process he described the potentials for the new building. Some of you may remember where the school board had a building downtown. You may remember where the school board met. It was in the upper library of Palmer High School. You may remember where the borough met. It was in the basement in a very long room. If you've been to any of those, you know that what's happened is they've moved into places where the people who come to speak, and you've invited people, now have a suitable place to be heard. So I would just point you at this new library and think carefully about how that facility may improve what you presently have, which is in many ways inadequate. It's kind of small, it's hot, it's cold, it's whatever. But that has the potential for being used, and I'm sure Gary would point out all the ways in which that could happen. Thank you.
Is there anyone else for audience participation? Okay, seeing no one come forward, we'll close audience participation. Next we have public hearings. Resolution number 25-013, a resolution of the Palmer City Council authorizing the city manager to approve the reclassification of a superintendent of public works to level 11 in the city of Palmer's employee plan. We'll open this public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to this resolution 25-013 can come forward. And seeing no one come forward, we'll close the public hearing. All right, what's the wishes of the council for this resolution?
Move to approve.
Second. Moved and seconded. Is there any discussions or Councilmember Alcantara?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have to admit, I'm a little bit surprised to find out that our Public Works Director wasn't already at the higher pay rate of level 11. I always thought, people ask me, who are your directors and managers in the city? I always point out to the police chief, the fire chief. We should point out the superintendent of public works. Yes.
I believe the superintendent
I should point out the public works. So we're raising 10 to 11. I guess I'm curious. The question is, the fiscal impact is less than $1 an hour. I just wonder, does that individual go from 10-4 to 11-3 or 10-4 to just 11? I just thought the fiscal impact seemed very surprisingly low, because I'll admit I wasn't a fan of the new pay plan when it came out. It seemed to really squeeze the middle out and gave huge raises to the people at the end of the pay scale. So I'm a little surprised to see this expenditure is less than $1 an hour. So I'm just curious how that pans out for this individual.
Madam Manager, do you have any insight for us?
I don't have the exact pay plan in front of me and memorized right now, but I can certainly get back to you the exact differences of what this person is at and then what they're going to be at.
Okay. Councilmember Alcantara.
Very minimal
Thank you.
fiscal impact.
No, I trust the number is correct. It's just surprising to me. So, thank you.
Okay. Any other comments or questions from council? We ready to vote then? Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Councilmember Alcantara,
Yes.
Mayor Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Councilmember Graver,
Yes.
Councilmember Erby,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Tudor.
Yes.
Passed.
Next is resolution number 25-026, authorizing the city manager to reappropriate $8,588 from the Fund 24 Reservoir 4 Repairs Project remaining budget balance and to reappropriate $9,959.35 from the Water and Sewer Unrestricted Net position for payment to the Alaska Department of Transportation and Public Facilities in accordance with the signed Utility Reimbursable Services Agreement that the Palmer City Council approved on April 25th, 2023, and signed by the city manager on April 27th, 2023. That's a title. We will open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to the resolution I just described the title of, please come forward. All right, seeing no one come forward, we will close the public hearing. What's the wishes of the council for resolution 25-026?
Move to approve. Second.
All right, is there any questions or comments from council? All right, Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Deputy Mayor Tudor,
Yes.
Councilmember Erby,
Yes.
Councilmember Graver,
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantara,
Yes.
Mayor Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper.
Yes.
It passes.
All right. Next is resolution number 25-027, authorizing the city manager to accept and appropriate a U.S. Environmental Protection Agency grant in the amount of $6.9 million for the City of Palmer wastewater treatment system upgrade. We will open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to this can come forward. Seeing no one come forward, we will close the public hearing. What's the wishes of the council? Move to approve.
Second?
Any discussion or questions? All right, Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Mayor Carrington,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Tudor,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Councilmember Erby,
Yes.
Councilmember Graver,
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantara.
Yes.
Passes.
All right, that's it for public hearings. Next is action memorandum. Do we want to take a break at this point, or we continue on? All right. Action memorandum number 25-056, authorizing city manager to migrate the city's financial system Tyler Technologies ERP Pro 9 to Tyler Technologies hosted platform. What's the wishes of the council? Move to approve.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Is there any questions or comments on this item? Deputy Mayor Tudor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was, if I could ask the city manager some questions about the reason for the move, especially since there's some increased cost with this as far as how's it been in the city. So with this move, looks like, is there a reason we're moving to this cloud-based system other than just, is it just to get it off our plates, that way we don't have to worry about keeping the server alive and backing it up and things like that, or is there a different reason?
It'll increase efficiency across our departments significantly, and having cloud-based system allows us to have backups if we need it.
Councilman Richard.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Tudor.
Oh, it's all good. And if I was looking at this correctly, so we're paying about $34,500 for maintenance of the server, does that include the backup costs, where it's going to even out a little better than the extra expenses that we're going to be incurring with this?
I don't know about the backup cost, but I can certainly get the breakdown for you.
I was just curious. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions from council? Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Councilmember Erby?
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper?
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantra?
Yes.
Councilmember Graver?
Yes.
Mayor Carrington?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Tudor?
Yes.
Pass.
Next is action memorandum number 25-057, authorizing the city manager to execute a contract with Respect Company in the not-to-exceed amount of $50,000 for the Central Business District Parking and Pedestrian Access Strategic Plan. What's the wishes of the council?
To approve?
Second?
Okay, moved and seconded. So any questions or comments from council on this item? All right, Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Councilmember Cooper?
Yes.
Councilmember Erby?
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantra?
Yes.
Councilmember Graver?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Tudor?
Yes.
Mayor Carrington?
Yes.
It passes.
Next is action memorandum number 25-058, authorizing the city manager to execute a contract with Powerful Effects Company in the not-to-exceed amount of $178,200 for the demolition and site clearing of the Palmer Public Library. What's the wishes of the council?
Move to approve.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Is there any questions or comments from council? Councilmember Alcantra.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a comment, I mean, I'm sure the team did a great job looking over eligible bids, but I have to admit, when I see the base bids, I get a little nervous at how much money this company, I don't advocate or cheerlead for any particular company, but they left an awful lot of money on the table, and it just, makes me a little bit nervous. So just saying good job to the team for getting a low bid.
All right. Deputy Mayor Tudor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to add on to that and also say I really appreciate the city looking out and using this as a training exercise too for our fire and rescue. That was a brilliant idea. Thank you.
All right. Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Deputy Mayor Tudor?
Yes.
Councilmember Erby?
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantra?
Yes.
Councilmember Graver?
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper?
Yes.
Mayor Carrington?
Yes.
Passes.
Passes. All right. There's no unfinished business or new business. Record of items placed on the table.
I have this one statement from Jackie Goforth.
All right. Next is audience participation. We'll open audience participation number 2 for anyone wishing to come forward. Please sign in, start with your name, and you have 3 minutes.
Good evening again, Mayor and City Council. My name is Jackie Goforth. I hold honor and integrity to be at the highest level in my life. But I want you to know nobody's perfect. I've told falsehoods a lot. There was a union steward in a unit I won't mention, who I did not trust because he had proven himself to be untrustworthy. But you have to meet with them alone. So we would go in my office and I would open the back door, which led into the garage, which was extremely chilly. And my office would slowly become refrigerator level, freezer level. And he would say, "Why are you doing that?" And I said, "I need fresh air." And I would be shaking. And he'd say, "Oh, you're doing it because you don't trust me." And I said, no, I need fresh air. So I'm not saying I'm perfect and I don't tell falsehoods. What I'm saying is, if you have proven yourself to be untrustworthy, you have earned my complete, I will never trust you. Now, during council comments last time, Carrington failed to maintain order and decorum as he allowed Irby to violate Palmer Code 2.06.010 and the Code of Ethics by reading aloud a memorandum for record at length. This MFR was entered into the public record as if it was a factual statement, legally recognized by the city of Palmer. Not only is this memo riddled with one-sided hearsay that I fully dispute, but was authored by somebody that has established to me their trustworthiness and untrustworthiness. I want you to know I have been in contact with a lawyer because slander, defamation, and libel are words that mean something, just like honor and integrity means something, and I do not take it lightly. Trust me, please. And when they say that the word camp was used in that office, I did not hear it because I was not in there to eavesdrop. I heard the words. If I had heard those words, I think I could have remembered them. But I also know that if they were spoken, they wouldn't have been spoken by Councilmember Hudson. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if that's kind of a code word for a cabal going on. Because somebody actually, Councilmember Irby said that what happened to Oliver in that office was a assault? What did he call it? An ambush attack? An ambush attack from a cabal or a camp. Well, I want you to know I'm going to quote Karl Marx. Accuse your enemy of what you're doing as you do it. There probably is a cabal. They may even have little campsites posted somewhere. They may even have labels or emblems. But I know darn well it wasn't Hudson. And I did not hear anything about how inept the mayor was, and I didn't hear anything like that. It might have been said, it might have been imagined. I did not hear it, and that is my exact statement. I wasn't listening to the conversation. I wasn't eavesdropping. I wasn't there for that. And it wasn't called by Hudson. I don't even have contact with Hudson until that point. I don't make it a point of being close because things I do create problems in my life, and I don't want those problems to create problems in a council member's.
That's your time.
Thank you.
Anyone else for audience participation?
I apologize if I was wrong about Cabbage Radio contract, but I do question why he missed that meeting. Thank you.
Anyone else for audience participation?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council and Mayor and Attorney. My name is David Wilson. I live in the city of Wasilla city limits, and I'm here mostly representing myself. I just wanted to comment upon the earlier presentation from the mayor, from the city borough attorney. In my previous life, I served as a state senator, and during that time, I served the 2 years of the initial Governor's Advisory Council on Opioid Remediation. I just want to clarify and help with the side conversation with Mr. Alcantara. So basically, the state's going to get about $58 million, give or take a few, and 85% of that funds will go to the state, with 15% coming to local municipalities, and the key population is 10,000 or more residents, and that's why it was an automatic for the city of Wasilla and not for Palmer because of the amount there. 3 of the state grantees do live in the Mat-Su borough, are set free. In my house, we're going to get about $42,000, and Sunshine Community Health Center up in the Upper Sioux, we get about $129,000, and that was already established last. And then there's about statewide technical assistance grant to help out for those entities as well. And so I just wanted to help provide a little bit of information to that. I will not be here the July 8th, but hopefully my entity will provide a letter pending approval. And so we'll hopefully disseminate that to you guys here in the next couple of weeks or so. And also, obviously, in the cooperation of neighborly cities, I just want to invite folks down to the 4th of July Mayor's Picnic. My other hat for the Sunrise Rotary, where we'll be serving about 3,500 hot dogs as part of the Mayor's Picnic. Starts at 1 to 3 p.m. with the parade starting at 11 a.m. So we hope to see you guys there on a wonderful sunny day, and enjoy a hot dog and come see the parade and get some candy and fellowship and celebrate the birthday of our nation. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for audience participation?
My name is John Privo, Acting Chief for Palmer Fire and Rescue. As it was mentioned before, we've started Monday night doing some training at the old library. And I just want to say that training is incredibly valuable for my people. Our normal training is we build a little training prop. So they cut some plywood off a fake roof. Monday night, they had to cut the metal roof off, they had to cut the plywood, they had to pull the insulation, they had to knock the sheetrock in to get those ventilation holes, something that we don't generally get to be able to do during our training, so that is incredibly awesome. So I just wanted to thank the city manager, Nate Oots, the community development director, and the owner of the contracting company that met with us and allowed us to get in there and do that. The demolition contractor, when they bid the jobs, they bid based on looking at what they can salvage, things like that. And so after they put in that bid, then meeting with us to say what we can destroy and what we can't was awesome. So I just wanted to publicly thank all those people.
Is there anyone else for audience participation?
Mike Malewski, once again, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Well, it's almost there. If you all would look at Councilmember Deputy Mayor Josh Tudor, he's smiling because he, like about 19 other people, leave soon for Sonoma as part of the exchange, the delegation that's going there. That's going to happen usually a little bit early. Most of the delegation will be leaving on the 6th of July, so this is the last meeting before that happens, actually. We'll be gone for roughly 2 weeks or so, and then when we return, the 25th of July is happening, and if I remember correctly, the 25th is a Celebrate Palmer Friday, and traditionally we have done a noodle shoot there. So we're going to make sure that our skills are up, because typically when we're in Sonoma, we'll partake of a noodle shoot. And so we'll be back, and as best I can tell right now, if you haven't experienced the noodle shoot, then please plan to be there on the 25th. I think you'll enjoy it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for audience participation? Seeing no one come forward, we'll close this audience participation. Next is council member comments. Councilmember Alcantara, should we start with you?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 10 minutes to have council member comments seemed a little extreme when our audience members only get 3 minutes. I think almost we should consider in the future maybe a 5-minute cap on council member comments in case we run into an hour and 10-minute extra time frame. Unlike some, I do my council member comments on what's occurred at the council meeting. I don't come here with a pre-typed up report that goes on. And I'd like to apologize to audience member Jackie Goforth, apologize to a fellow council member, Victoria Hudson, that we didn't put it into that. That should have, if our rules state that a 10-minute cap is there, should have put it into it 11 minutes before some of those things happened. So that's unfortunate that that happened, and really what should have happened is the mayor should have ruled him out of order. It shouldn't have taken a final movement from another council member to do that. The mayor and the other 2 council members that weren't here on May 30th probably had their reasons for not being here. The mayor should have called. He did post on his Facebook site that come on down, talk to the council. A couple people did. He should have been here for sure, because he had already put on there that the event was happening unless he had some family emergency. And people have family emergencies. I have one going on right now, and apparently Councilmember Hudson might have one as well. So that should have happened. We should have had Big Cabbage Radio here on the 30th of May, but it didn't matter because we had a quorum, and we had a very well-run meeting by the deputy mayor. As I said, the most well-run meeting in my 3 years on council. So, good things came out of it, and I'll leave it at that. I do want to thank everybody who testified tonight. I especially want to thank Gary Wolf for being here and presenting to the council. I know there's always frustration. There has to be. You have to have a thick skin when you work for government. You have to have a thick skin when you're in elected office, and I hope people realize that. So thank you to everybody who came out and testified tonight. I do think it's going to be an exciting time for our mayor and deputy mayor and others that are heading to Seroma. Speak with somewhat of experience, and here's the good part about Facebook, is my daughter Tasia Alcantara spent 2 weeks in Seroma, 20 days gone on a trip, including Honolulu and Tokyo, Japan. She hated Tokyo, too big, too hot. She loves Seroma, very Palmer-like and smaller with a lot of great amenities, a lot of great public pool, a lot of cool things. And what she really liked, and I've talked before about my 4 children, and she's the youngest at 17, but my sons are both 6'4", my other daughter is 6'1", and my little 17-year-old daughter is 5'2". So she spent a lot of time begrudging on her height. And in Japan, she fit right in. Matter of fact, her little sister, who will come and stay with us in September, is probably only about 5 foot to 5'1". So it was good for her to be amongst people. And if you see her pictures on social media, you know, she fit in with darker hair and kind of a look that almost made her look like she should be over in Seroma instead of here, possibly. So I want to thank everybody who shows up for meetings, does the work of the city. I applaud everybody. You know, you have to be here to get the work done. My mother right now is in Providence Hospital. Been in there for 5 days. I've been there for the last 30 plus hours in the last 5 days. Got a couple, luckily for me, I have 5 older sisters, 3 of which are in town and kind of taking a shift, so to speak. But no matter what's going on in your Friday evenings or your Tuesday evenings, when you sign up to do the work of the city, you do your best to be here, especially for council meetings that you know are going to take place. So I'll leave it at that. I hope everybody has a great couple of weeks. Really spent most of my last 5 days inside Providence Hospital, so I haven't seen some of this good weather, but summer's just beginning. So yeah, we're just a few days into summer. I'm looking forward to a great Alaska summer. So I hope everybody has a good couple weeks and see you back here on what appears to be a very busy July 8th. So hope everybody attends on that day. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Graber.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to thank Mr. Wolf for his presentation this evening. A long time coming, but really great to see some of those details, and I am so excited to get some visual progress on the library. I think it'll be really great to see that started. And I wanted to congratulate Nathaniel Outs, our new building development manager or director. I'm excited to have that role filled. And the last thing is that my husband has some military training in Japan, serendipitously, and so I will be here for the July 8th meeting, which is great, but I may not, depending on I don't know how the time change in the Wi-Fi works over there, so hopefully I'll be able to call in for the July 22nd meeting and possibly the August 12th meeting as well. Other than that, have a great time.
Councilmember Irby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was going to be tame tonight, but then, first of all, I want to talk about the 10-minute limit. I apologize. I never knew there was, I was on the council for 12 years. I never knew that there was a 10-minute limit for council members. We never told another councilman that they couldn't talk, that the people of Palmer couldn't hear what they had to say. But it is in the charter, and but if you read the charter, it's mostly for, it looks like it's talking about resolutions. But since it doesn't specifically exclude council comments, it's implied that it does. But the charter also says that 10-minute limit can be waived if there's unanimous consent. In other words, we can take a vote with formal discussion. As we just learned in our parliamentary training, if you vote no, then you owe an explanation to our constituents as to why you are censoring a councilman, why you don't want the people of Palmer to hear what he has to say. So, to recap, there was a memo for a record that was submitted by a department head in which a council member berated him for doing his job, and they are the one that came up with the phrase threatening him, saying which camp, he needed to just figure out which camp he was in. That's where the word camp came from. I didn't invent it. And then as for the meeting that we had, or that was scheduled, 4 members made the meeting, and 3/7 didn't make it. And there was speculation about the word boycott was used, shenanigans was used. But here's a thought. If you're sincere about having all the council members present, try being transparent. Announce the meeting during a regular meeting so that everyone can hear about it, not waiting until after hours or behind closed doors. Also, give enough notice, like a week, instead of only 3 quick days. And this is a big one. You might want to try scheduling such a meeting on like a Tuesday, where there's more chance that everyone can attend, instead of on a Friday evening at 6 p.m., the beginning of the weekend, in South Central Alaska in May, when almost everyone has plans. I wasn't expecting a meeting to be held that quick on a Friday night, so I already made plans and I couldn't attend. That is why I couldn't attend. It wasn't a boycott or shenanigans. The city attorney didn't make the meeting. And as it was mentioned, Big Cabbage Radio wasn't even there because it was a special meeting and they weren't asked. I would argue any shenanigans appeared to be the plotting of the meeting. After hours, behind closed doors, in just 3 quick days, on a Friday night at the beginning of the weekend. So, that's, and let's see, what else do I have here? I want to thank Gary Wolf for coming here to the meeting tonight. He gave a very responsible, professional, realistic, and expert explanation about the costs and everything concerning the library. It's a shame that he has to defend himself from the social media arena where the irresponsible, uninformed mentality pervades. And we have a city council member that participates in that, where I'm getting text messages from constituents, screenshots of these social media posts, where a council member is degrading the citizens of Palmer because they voted no on the recall effort. And she attacked the LGBTQ community. She has every right to have whatever personal opinion that she wants, but when she sits up at this table, she took an oath to be impartial. And representing every member of the community equally is being impartial. If you can't be impartial, then you should have never taken an oath saying that you would. That's all. I'm sure my 10 minutes are up.
Not quite, but okay. Alternate Deputy Mayor Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor. On a lighter note, Chief John, I have a story for you. I'm glad that you actually had a building that you could tear apart. I had a building when I was in charge of Kodiak that the fire department came up and they had some smoke bombs coming out of the building. They actually took their pickaxes and started into the roof. And it was an occupied building, it was a restaurant, it was a bar, and it was like, we're outside screaming, no, it's just a drill, so I'm glad that you actually had something that you could tear apart. I also want to thank Gary and his staff. They've just done an amazing amount of work. I think what we have to remember is, you have to remember we're walking upstairs, and if you have a yo-yo, the yo-yo is going up and down. People focus on the yo-yo. and they see that it goes down, they come up, you have to remember, we're continuing to walk up the stairs, so progress is being made. So, you know, our library, even though the yo-yo goes down and we see that it, you know, that progress is slow or it goes down, it does come back up, and in the meantime, we're still walking up the stairs, so we're making progress. So, thank you, Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Tudor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, Nate, congratulations. Looking forward to working with you more. And also, this we got done with Colony Days. It was a terrific event. It was really, really well attended. The weather was beautiful. I had the privilege of being able to MC the parade with Caden. That was a lot of fun. Thank you, Mayor, and your wife for being up there on the grandstand. And it was a really good event put on by the Chamber of Commerce and other people. I'm not just saying that because I happened to misplace the coffee pot that the Chamber has. So I was trying to get in trouble by the second director. And also, this last Sunday, we had the 90th anniversary of the Matanuska Colony. That's a really special thing that we have. So Palmer Historical Society did an amazing job with that. I think we had over 200 people go through that building. They had amazing displays there. We had video playing, and because I had to go get more supplies halfway through because we ran out of utensils. Luckily, they had 2 large cakes there for everybody, and we had some homemade rhubarb lemonade that was just delicious, and we ran out pretty quick. So it was a really, really good event. I just love that our history here is so unique that we get to celebrate it. It's just a really nice thing. Also, thank you, Gary Wolf and Wolf Architecture, for being here. I called him up yesterday to talk to him about the Means Aid, and I really appreciate his dedication. And because I did meet with some people to go over the library, you know, because I've always been looking at this and saying, okay, well, this is a great building, but we do got to pay this, so we got to make sure we're being responsible. And I appreciate him taking the time to discuss these issues with us to make sure that we're on the right track. Because ultimately, you know, as someone said, you know, we do work for the voters. We got to make sure that we are handling taxpayer dollars responsibly. And I really appreciate that he was able to come here and give us a good explanation of to why the costs are the way they are, so that way we can better explain to people, and also so the public can know best what's going on at the library, why does it cost this much, what are we getting for this, to make sure that we're not building something that we shouldn't, but that we're building something that's going to last and be something that's going to benefit our community for years to come. As Mr. Molesky said, I'll be in Soroma here, so we're missing the next, I think I'll be missing the next meeting, I'm not sure, it depends on the schedule. So I may or may not be here. There is the massive time zone difference, and of course, we have a pretty packed schedule, so may not be attending, but and we're looking forward to this. This is a really special day. This is the 45th anniversary of the Sister City program being official. And my hope is this is, even though this is the 45th year, that this is still the beginning of this relationship. Not the middle point, not the end, but still the beginning, that we'll have this for generations to come. So, thank you.
Congrats to Nate. Good job getting to where you are. And I went by last night, and I don't think I've seen so many firefighters so excited. I think it might have been unanimous attendance from everybody. They were very excited to rip into practice their art, shall we say. Reminder, Scottish Highland Games is coming up this weekend out at the fairgrounds, and thank everyone for attending. We're adjourned at 8:12.